Okay, so how did you get on? Hopefully you didn't find this project too difficult. If you did, feel free to reach out and we can try to address any problems that you had. But now let me just take you through a solution that I put together, and it only requires 10 or 11 lines of code. So to start with, we know we'll be working with a sequence of numbers. So my first thought was, if I create a for loop and loop through a range of numbers, utilizing the range function, this would be a good start. So to start I went for I in, and then I placed the range function. I then just put 1, 11, because I know this will generate a list of numbers from 1 to 10. If I then put a colon and then we just print out I do indeed get numbers from 1 to 10. So a good start. Now I want to give the user the ability to choose the start and stop number. And rather than getting them to put the start and stop number in the range function itself, I created a variable called start and I set this equal to 1. I then replaced inside the range function 1 with the variable start. And then I did the same with the stop parameter. So I created a variable called stop, I set this equal to 11, and then I replaced 11 in the range function with the variable stop. So I can now change my variables with the numbers that I want to start and stop from, and then I will print the respective range. Okay, so far, so good. Now inside the for loop, I know that I want to check each number. So on the first iteration of the for loop, we want to check if 1 is divisible by 3, 5, or maybe even both. So I need to use conditional statements. So if we start by placing if, and then writing our first rule, we could put I modulo 3 equals 0, and then have a second condition which is and I modulo 5 equals 0, colon, then print FizzBuzz. So this rule says if the number passed in from the for loop is divisible by 3 and divisible by 5, in other words it leaves a remainder of 0 when both calculations are conducted, then print FizzBuzz. And it's important to put this rule first because it's the most granular rule. If we just put I modulo 3 equals 0, then printed fizz first, well then numbers that are divisible by both, such as 15, would then have the word fizz associated with it, which we know is incorrect. So we need to put the most granular rule first. We could then put elif, so a second conditional statement, and we can put I modulo 3 equals 0. So if the first condition is not met, and the second condition is met, we want this to print out fizz. And for the final rule, we can put elif I modulo 5 equals 0, then print buzz. So with these conditional statements in mind, our first rule would be checked to see whether the number is divisible by 3 and 5. If it's not, it will move to the next rule to see if it's divisible by 3. If it's not, it will move to the next rule to see if the number is divisible by 5. Now, if it doesn't meet any of these conditions, else we want to print out what that number would be. For example, 2 is not divisible by 3 or 5, so we just want to then print the number that comes from the for loop. So with this now written, let's run the code to see what we obtain. You can see that we print 1, then 2, then fizz because it's divisible by 3 only, then 4, then buzz, we then get fizz, 7, 8, fizz, then buzz, which is the first 10 numbers. Now to see the first FizzBuzz word, we'd actually need to go up to the number 15. So let's change our stop variable to be 16 to see what we obtain. When we run this code, you can see that when we look at the last number within our output, it prints FizzBuzz. So everything is working as expected. Now hopefully you can see how many different things are going into this. We have different conditions that are being assessed in conditional statements, including the use of Boolean operators such as AND. We're utilizing built-in functions such as range to construct a list of numbers. We're using for loops, we're setting variable names, and we're printing things to the screen. So the more you practice these small little coding projects, the better equipped you'll be when facing real problem statements on your coding journey.